It is 4 p.m. We're bringing developing news.
And the stories behind the headlines. This is Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. Some stories we're watching this Monday, March 17. Senator Amy Marcos has called for an urgent Senate probe into the arrest of former President Rodrigo Duterte. She emphasizes that the need to verify if due process was observed and Duterte's legal rights were fully protected during his arrest. Marcos is summoning officials from the PNP, DOJ, DFA, NSC, and other agencies to testify.
For his part, former Chief Presidential Legal Counsel Sal Panelo has also criticized Senator Marcos's plan to investigate Duterte's arrest. He called it unnecessary and merely a publicity move for the 2025 elections. Panelo also distanced himself from former presidential spokesperson Harry Roque. Panelo denies he's friends with Roque.
Former presidential spokesman Harry Roque says he will seek asylum in the Netherlands. He also says he cannot return to the country as he will stand as one of former President Duterte's lawyers in his ICC case.
And Senate President Cheese Escudero said that he will not allow any lawmaker to be arrested within Senate premises. He also cited Senator Ronald Bato de la Rosa's right to avail of judicial remedies. De la Rosa is among the former president's co-accused in his case of crimes against humanity at the ICC.
And joining us today is Storycon's resident political pundit Tito Rol Llamas, who is joining us via Zoom.
In a moving car. Saan ka galing, Ronald?
Yeah. Na-late yung plane by 1 hour. Kaya pagtsagaan nyo na lang ako.
But you're coming from the Netherlands or you're going to the Netherlands?
Coming or going?
From Malaysia. From Malaysia. I attended the party congress of the Democratic Action Party na kasama sa ruling party. So I met the Prime Minister, Anwar Ibrahim, and several of his cabinet officials.
Paparty-party lang siya.
Transport, Minister of Trade, and Minister of Finance.
Naks naman. But, forget about the name dropping, no? Also joining us from the...
Let's drop another name.
Meron pa ba? Meron pa ba? Also from the Philippine Star Editor-in-Chief, Ami Pamintuan. Ami, happy Monday.
Hi, happy Monday, everybody.
Ami, kamusta ang weekend mo? Ha? Busy
Masaya
ba? At least
medyo tahimik compared to Friday. Ano?
Nagka-weekend ba tayo?
Binigyan ako
Medyo
nga,
tahimik.
parang mainit yung suot mo.
Wala, ano lang to, decoration lang yan.
We're in serious colors today kasi Monday. And
Yes.
a lot's happening. So, ano ba yan? We have Harry Roque giving a press conference just now. Kakatapos lang, we found out a lot of things from that. First of all, nasa clinic daw ng International Detention Center si Duterte. And na-deliver na kagabi yung actual medicines niya.
Akala ko yung medyas tsaka yung ano.
Medyas din.
Humingi siya ng medyas.
A very colorful pair of socks daw. Pero na-deliver na yung actual medicines kasi all this time, substitute medicines lang daw yung binibigay sa kanya sa The Hague. We also know Roque plans to apply for political asylum kasi hindi daw siya uuwi until he's with President Duterte.
So, pag nag-file din pala ako ng political asylum, magkakasama kami ni Harry.
Ba't ka na mag-file ng political
Sa
asylum?
Dahig ka rin ba? Sa Dahig. Hindi, tatanong kita, Ronald, ano bang grounds ng political asylum? Di ba political persecution yan?
Oo nga. Pero, hindi yan ganun kadali. Dahil, siyempre, yung kanyang kliyente ay accused of crimes against humanity.
Yes.
Very sensitive ang Netherlands sa mga ganyang klaseng kaso. Kanya nga nandyan yung ICC. So, at yung final sa kanya rito, sa DOJ, ay pinoproseso pa. Kunyari, human trafficking at saka money laundering. Pag nagkaroon pa na consummate yun, pwede siyang ipa-extradite. Dahil may extradition treaty ang Pilipinas sa Netherlands.
Although,
So
the
kung
idea...
mag-political asylum ka, Ronald, at hiningi ng Pilipinas yung extradition niya, pwede pa rin.
Pwede pa rin. No, depende yan sa kanilang foreign ministry tsaka gobyerno. Pero yun nga,
Wala ka, Ronald. Kasi alam ko si Joe Manon. Si Joe Manon, alam ko kaya hindi siya maibalik dito. Ang claim niya, merong death threat sa kanya.
Dahil
At
sa
ang sabi ng gobyerno natin,
malabo yun. Sa tayo, may persecution.
oo. Pero yung kay Joe nga, sabi ko, hindi siya actually dun sa persecution, kundi yung death threat na sabi naman ng gobyerno natin, yung death threat daw is coming from his fellow NPAs. Yan ang sabi, kaya hindi din siya pinipilit nun.
Yung kay Joma, na-reject yung kanyang political asylum.
Asylum, na-reject.
Ano pag nasa Netherlands ka, kahit na-reject yung political asylum mo, ay hindi ka naman nila itataboy. Hindi ka nila papalayasin. Pero hindi ka na makakalabas dahil hindi ka na makakabalik.
Well, also there are different ways, and there are different ways to apply for asylum and different rules for asylum depending on the country or the organization. Just as an example, one of the families sa Maguindanao massacre applied for asylum while in Hong Kong in 2012 kasi they said that they were fearing for their lives and that there's a bounty on their head and they cannot get justice in the Philippines. In 2013, na-approve ng UN High Commissioner for Refugees ang kanilang asylum application. Of course, a completely different case involving a completely different issue altogether. Pero nga, different places, different countries, different states, different ways and different justifications for getting asylum. So just to put that out there.
But also, Ronald, you're assuming that he's going to apply for asylum on the grounds of itong crimes against
Political
humanity
asylum.
case. But what if he applies on the grounds na the House of Representatives has got a contempt order out for him, and yun nga, he's being implicated in the POGOs on top of the extrajudicial cases, right? We know that from the hearings last year. Pwede ba yun? I mean, can he...
Yung sa contempt, medyo malabo yun. Yung sa contempt. Talagang political persecution ang magiging basihan niya. Dagdag pala doon kay Joma, kahit na-reject yung kanyang political asylum sa Netherlands, natanggap siya as a citizen ng Spain. No? Alam mo, di ba, Ami, may provision sa Spain. Kung mapapatunayan mo na yung ancestors ay nasa Pilipinas, the treaty, yung treaty of Versailles, ay pwede ka mag-apply ng citizenship sa Spain.
May special arrangement tayo with Spain.
Yun yata ang ginawa ni Joma. So rejected yung kanyang political asylum pero natanggap siya sa Spanya.
So he was a Spanish citizen.
Meron tayong doon. May special arrangement tayo with Spain. Pati sa working and immigration rules nila, special tayo.
Kaya bala ko rin i-invoke yung aking ancestry na Kastila. Di ba halata?
Kailangan marunong ka mag-Espanyol, no?
Llamas, di ba? Llamas. Doesn't that
Very-
sound Spanish to you?
Very Hispanic.
Hindi gaya ng linggaw. hindi very Spanish yung linggaw.
Hindi pwede, inchik yun. Chinese yun, linggaw.
But
Si Ami, baka mahirapan.
Ako hindi, pamintuan eh.
Bakit? Pamintuan.
we also
Ako
know
Chinese, hindi pwede.
we also know
Yung
from
linggaw,
the
Chinese yun eh.
Oh, yeah. There's
Lingaw.
a
Lingaw.
Lingaw province
Linggaw yun
in China.
linggaw.
Okay, so we also know from the press conference na hindi pa siya officially considered or recognized as a counsel to Duterte. They're waiting on ICC to recognize Roque at this point. So the only person
Yes.
accredited so far is the former ES Salvador Medialdea. So again, nag-apply pa lang sila to be accredited by the ICC as counsel to Duterte. And we were showing pictures just now of Senator Robin Padilla. And when Roque was asked what he's doing there, ang sagot niya is, He is
consulting as president of the PDP,
He-
the Partido Demokratiko Pilipino.
correct. Hihingi siya ng instruction from Duterte on what to do with PDP laban with the midterm election. So yun yung sagot. So I don't know if
Duterte's chairman emeritus na naman I think, di ba? It's
but
an
he's still
honorary
the
position.
de facto head, you know. So
Isn't it an honorary position na lang when you're? But anyway, no. But the other story that came out was
Ang
si
interesting yung banat ni Panelo.
well, iba
Ang
pa yun.
interesting yung banat ni Panelo Ate Roque at saka kay Amy.
Hindi, alam naman natin na hindi magkasundo talaga si
They're
Sal
not
Panelo
exactly
sa
in
si
good terms.
Harry Roque.
Oh.
Lagi naman yung at-ad siya mga sinasabi ng dalawang yan.
Pero may pahapyaw din si Atty. Harry Roque dun sa arrest warrant which specified the 43 cases of extrajudicial killings nung panahon ni Duterte. Ang sabi ni Harry, we're just paraphrasing here, akala ko ba libo-libo? Nagulat na lang ako na 43 ang sinasabi nila. Na sana yung libo-libong sinasabi nila, pinapatay daw ng pinuno 43 over a period of 8 years. So, may ganong pahapyaw si Harry Roque. Although that's also been answered already by several other lawyers, including Attorney Gilbert Cruz, who is also a counsel with a counsel at the ICC,
of the victims.
which basically is that the ICC prosecutors got a sampling, representative sampling, and that's the 43. Those are the 43 cases, not 6,000, not 20,000 or 30,000. They just needed to get a sampling to show that there was systematic and widespread killings during that time.
Dapat yun ang ginawa ng mga investigador natin. Kaya lang, wala nga kasing political will dito. At
Actually,
related to that, nag-recuse ngayon si Menardo, si Solicitor General. Nag-recuse from defending the government. Sa Supreme Court lang naman natin. Kasi nga, sinabi na daw niya dati na walang jurisdiction ng ICC. Kaya hindi natin alam ngayon kung sinong magre-represent sa government before the Supreme Court. Baka pwede bang Department of Justice na lang yon? Kung hindi na si Menardo Guevara, remember he was also a former Justice Secretary ni Duterte.
Correct.
Actually, yung sinasabi ni Trillanes, dapat mag-resign siya as Solicitor General. Yun ang sinasabi ni Senator Trillanes. Pero dapat alam ni Harry Roque na pag nagkikase ka, nagkakaso ka, pipiliin mo yung pinaka-compelling.
Malakas.
Yung ang ebidensya. Tapos saka mo ipapakita yung systematic o institutional state role dito sa libo-libong namatay. Dahil kung isasama mo yung libo-libo, no, lalo na, hindi mo naman, wala ka namang listahan ng mga pangalan ng libo-libo, ay tatagal yung kaso na yan. Baka mga 100 taon yan bago ma-resolve. Kaya ang pinili muna nila, yung merong mga malakas at clear na testimony dun sa mga pinatay. No? Tapos tsaka nila isasama yung libo-libo bilang institutional state violence, no? Yun yung pero dapat alam yan ni Harry Pero dahil ang level nga propaganda, pinopropaganda niya yung issue.
He knows that, I think, kasi some of the reporters raised that the fact na that's just a representative sample and trinay pa nga niya i-divide 43 divided by 8 years. Ano lang?
Don't make me do the math.
Ano lang daw
You're the
yun?
business person there.
Hindi daw yun crimes against humanity. But anyways, the point is that that's just a representative sample. Yun nga, they're trying to establish a pattern here.
Yes. Sampling. Yun yung exact word. Sampling.
Maganda rin yung yung away ni Baste. Well, he's trying to pick a fight with Bongbong Marcos, of course, Baste. Yung mga tatay daw nila. Yung tatay daw ni Bongbong, pinalibing nila sa Hero Cemetery. Yung tatay daw niya, pinadala sa The Hague. Maganda mga dito. Mga labanan dito, maganda rin.
Ayun sa strap, you will never be loved, Mr. Marcos, is what he said. Doon sa araw ng Davao event over the weekend.
Pero dati BFF sila But anyway. Well, just to put some context here.
Malaking pagsisisi nila yung pagpapalibing. Remember, yun din ang sinabi ni DP Sara, no, na nagagalit doon sa mga pag-imbestiga sa pondo niya. Gusto niyang pahukay yung remains nung ni Ferdinand Marcos doon sa libingan eh.
Oo nga.
Tatapon na din sa non-existent West Philippines.
Aming sisi ay bakit hindi tumakbo si Sara as president? Siya yung lamang nun 28% siya nun
Yeah.
Si Bongbong, 20% lang. Dahil sa
Ang
awak,
rin sa tatay niya.
Dahil sa
Nasa rin
family
sa
feud.
tatay niya eh.
Kaya nga, exactly. So yung family feud ay naging bahagi ng kasaysayan. Diba? Naging bahagi ng... Kaya ikaw, Ed, iwas ka sa family feud.
Ako pa.
Kasi
Ako pa, Papi.
gusto ng
Papi
tatay
Wambio.
naman niya nung napatakbo.
Happy
Hindi
yan
naman
si
siya
Ed.
originally. Si Bongo gusto ng tatay niya eh.
Bok,
Pero
just to put some,
gusto ng tatay, si Bongo yung mag-vice
Si
president.
Bongo.
Yes.
Ayaw naman niya kay Bongo. Diba?
Oo.
Bok, just to put some context pa doon sa number na 43 cases being cited by the
Yes.
ICC. A good number of those were from that one series of drug raids in
One-
Bulacan in
one time, big
2017,
time.
yung one-time big time, where 32 drug suspects were killed in a span of 24 or 48 hours in a series of
Yes.
raids in Bulacan, which the former president said then was maganda yun, referring to the number of people killed. Yung namatay daw kanina sa Bulacan, 32 in a massive raid. Maganda yun.
Within 24 hours.
Makapatay lang tayo ng mga another 32 every day, then maybe we can reduce that. Maybe we can reduce what ails this country. That's what the president said in a speech before the volunteers against crime and corruption in 2017.
32 in a span of 24 hours
Yeah.
yan.
And if we can kill daw 32 every day,
Oh, yun.
then that'll be good.
Ay.
Kaya nakasama dyan si Karamat, di ba? Siya yung dyan.
Bulacan.
So,
Siya yata yung sa
Romeo
operations
Karamat.
dyan eh.
Oo. Okay, let's try to get the latest now from The Hague. We have with us Morning Matters host Gretchen Ho, still live on the ground for us. Hi, Gretch.
Hi, Gretch.
Hi, good morning to you. Good afternoon over there. So kakatapos lang ng press conference with Attorney Harry Roque, and he did give us a lot of details over where their defense could be possibly headed. But before that, in-update muna niya ang lahat doon sa kondisyon ni Pangulong Duterte sa loob ng detention facility. Siya ay nakatanggap ng tsinelas, pajamas at medicines around 8 p.m. in the evening yesterday. Iniwan lang doon sa lampas ng detention facility. Hindi daw nakapasok sila VP at saka sila Attorney Roque dahil mukhang everyday kailangang mag-email sila para makapasok sa loob dahil hindi pa sila approved as legal counsel. So that's the reason why the Vice President is also gearing up to be part of the legal team of the former president, to be able to have unimpeded access to him, to be able to sit down in meetings with him without being recorded, and to have that as a right, to be part of that, para makausap niya yung dating presidente nang hindi na kailangan mag-i-email every day. So that's the main reason for that. But there are decisions to be made by the former president today. We are expecting that later at 9 p.m. when Executive Secretary Salvador Medialdea does manage to get inside the detention. He will be given 1 hour visitation time with the former president, and he needs to sign a conforme to officially appoint his legal team. But the decision points are, first, kung mag-hire ba siya ng private counsel. Dahil 40,000 euros a month lamang yung legal defense fund of the ICC and assistance they give to their detainees. At kung dun sa 40,000 euros na yon, there are only 3 lawyers, 1 lead, 1 co, 1 case manager, 1 investigator, and 1 admin staff. So, sabi ni Attorney Harry Roque, yung 40,000 euros, napakaliit nun to actually hire somebody very competent in this, such as Nicholas Kaufman, who they are looking at. So, si Nicholas Kaufman dumating na last night, and they are supposed to meet him today. So hindi pa sila nagkikita kahapon dahil nga yun nga hindi din sila maka-get access to the former president. So they're expecting to have that meeting at 11 p.m. Actually 10 p.m. pero dahil malilate daw si ES Medialdea, mga 11 daw sila magpupulong-pulong. And as to Attorney Harry Roque's stay here, he did mention in the rally over the weekend that he will not come home until the former president comes home with him. He said, sabi niya, parang nek-nek mo, kunin niyo ako dito. O, tapos sinabi rin niya doon sa mga OFW natin, ampunin niyo ako. Ito yung sentro ng human rights, kaya hindi niyo ako makukuha dito. Yan ang mga salita niya. Na sinagot nga ng Malacanang, they said, if you're calling for the former president to come home, why not call for Attorney Roque to also come home? To which he said that he is not a fugitive because his warrant of arrest was not given by the courts. His arrest warrant was given by the House of Representatives, and therefore his argument is that this is political persecution. And he will be filing for asylum at the Netherlands, and he will also try to get a non-deportation clause. At naniniwala siya na na mapapanulay niya yung unjust prosecution dahil indefinite daw yung binigay na arrest warrant ng House at wala itong bail. And he will argue that this is political persecution. He will file that before the Commission on Immigration and Deportation, or the INS. Not quite sure what that means yet, but he will not file it by Dutch courts. He will just file it by this commission. And then he also mentioned the possible legal direction that they will take. Ayaw niya pangunahan si Nicholas Kaufman, but he did mention Rome Statute Article 59 na hindi nasunod yon at titignan nila kung sapat ba yun para mawala ng jurisdiction yung hukuman. So I also asked about the specific case that they're looking at to make parallel to the former president's case, and they said it is Minister versus Ibrahim, kung saan yung isang South African, isang apartheid leader kinidnap sa ibang bansa. So, nag-rule yung South Africa Constitutional Court that you cannot right a wrong by committing another wrong. So, good to look into that as to what grounds, but for sure they will be angling towards the jurisdiction of the ICC over this case, given the mode of arrest that they had executed over in the Philippines. And the final question that I asked actually was on Senator Robin Padilla on what his grounds were for visiting, because he is not part of the family. And Attorney Roque said that he will need to ask the former president as president of PDP Laban on what the directions are, because we are in the middle of a midterm campaign season.
Right. Gretch, that was the point I was telling Ronald nga, which is that Harry Roque will likely apply on grounds of political persecution on the basis of the House of Representatives contempt order against him, not related to the case that Duterte is facing right now at the ICC. Ang expected argument niya, I guess, is that the House of Representatives is trying to implicate him in the cases, in the Pogo cases as well as EJ case. But I wanted to home in on the Legal Defense Fund. We were made to understand that this is only available to indigent detainees, indigent suspects, right? Do you know at this point, and of course Nicholas Kaufman we know is a high-profile British-Israeli lawyer who's represented some big names. Do we know at this point which way they will go? I mean, kasi ang alam lang natin so far, officially it's former ES Medjaldea as counsel. Do we know, is he going to go with this team of 3 people that we're flashing on the screen, 4 people, sorry, or they're looking to tap some of the funds for the legal defense assistance as well?
Reg, I'm not quite sure if the Legal Defense Assistance Fund will just be for indigents. I have been hearing here in Netherlands that there is really some sort of assistance from the ICC, and they will be giving a list of lawyers, competent lawyers. But Attorney Roque specified that there is no need for the legal counsel to actually be registered with the ICC. So that is just an advice from the ICC to have competent lawyers in international law concerning the ICC, because that is a subspecialty. So kumbaga, pag kumuha ka ng lawyer na hindi masyadong hasa dito sa kanilang Rome Statute, dehado ka na. Kaya yun ang recommendation ng ICC, but he kept mentioning that it is not a requirement to be with the ICC. As to the what the composition of the legal team, it will depend on the former president on if he's willing to spend on hiring Nicholas Kaufman, who is known to handle high-profile cases. Pinag-uusapan namin yan on Morning Matters. He dealt with the case of Vice President Bemba from Congo, who managed to get an acquittal after being imprisoned for 8 years, awaiting trial and verdict. He was imprisoned for 2 years for his conviction, and then right after that, he managed to get an acquittal in the appeals portion, where the judge found that he could not be held responsible for the actions of his own men, and that he did not have enough powers to actually investigate and hold his men accountable according to the Constitution of the Central African Republic. So yun yung mga nabasa natin. No? Interesting to look at those things. Another argument by Bemba was if he was given a fair trial. So hindi ko pa nasusuyod yung mga yan, pero I think it could possibly help the defense of the former president if he does manage to get the British-Israeli lawyer Nicholas Kaufman to his side. What we do know for certain is that he is already here in the Netherlands, ready to speak with the whole team.
But
Ang kaibahan kasi Gretz do kay Bemba, no, ay hindi siya nagsalita ng kill. Wala siya mga ganong statement. Sa rules kasi ng ICC, public statement ng akusado is considered evidence. So yun yung main difference yung kay Bemba at saka kay Digong, no? Dahil dito ang daming statement public, and that is
also
evidence.
the vice president. He's not the chief executive.
The main kwan.
So I don't know how it works in the Congo, but
Yes.
as the vice president, I suppose you're just the fallback guy.
Yeah. Tapos yung sa South
Gretch.
Africa naman, yung nabanggit mo, Gretch, ang problema kasi pag nakuha ka na ng ICC, wala silang pakialam paano ka nakuha. Pag nakuha ka na, dead man na sila ron. Ang mahalaga, nandun ka na sa kanila. No? Walang epekto yung paano ka kinuha. Yung iba kasi rendition Halimbawa, yung former Yugoslavian generals, ni-rendition yun No? Kaya hindi issue sa ICC kung paano ka kinuha. Issue yun doon sa bansa na pinagkuhanan.
Yeah. We'll find out more yung makeup of the council tonight, 9 p.m. As Gretchen said, magmi-meet sila tonight, and Duterte has to sign a conforme to officially appoint his council. But Ami, you had a question?
Gretch, would you know kung may balak silang humingi ng interim release? Although sinabi na nga ng mga lawyers familiar with ICC, medyo mahirap yun dahil napaka-special daw ng grounds for that. But susubukan ba nila? Would you know?
I was listening to the Vice President when she was asked that question. Ayaw niya mag-comment, no? Kasi ito yung legal strategy. Tinanong din kanina si Atty. Harry Roque if they will be gearing up to request for an interim release. Parang hindi rin niya sinagot. Sinabi niya, ayaw rin niya pangunahan. So mukhang bago man mag-request ng interim release. I mean, the question of jurisdiction is there. So I do not know, but they have been downplaying that. They have not been putting that at the forefront of their defense. They have been putting the jurisdiction issue first. So yun muna bago yung interim release na sinasabi. Ganoon yung nakukuha kong sense, no? Pero walang sumasagot sa kanila kung oo ba o hindi. Laging ayaw namin pangunahan si Nicholas Kaufman.
Gretch,
There was an earlier discussion about the financing involved in getting a private lawyer for the defense. Do we take it to mean na hindi pa ganun ka-decidido kung si Kaufman ay kukunin? Or talagang they're firm already that we want Kaufman, the others na lang yung negotiable kung kukunin pa o hindi? Kasi kanina there was a discussion kung how much is available and how much will have to be raised.
Pwede naman
Correct.
yata
The Vice
magbayad
President
ng private,
did
di ba?
mention that umuuna si PRRD kay Nicholas Kaufman. But later, I think ilalatag nila how much that will cost and how much can be shouldered by the ICC. Because kahapon, nung isang araw, I think nung Friday, nag-meeting sila ni VP Sara, 1 hour lang din yun, napakabilis. Hindi siya nakapagpapirma nung conforme. So tonight, that will be the agenda. Papirmahin ng conforme, ilalatag din na ito dito yung options mo, you can get Nicholas Kaufman, but as Attorney Harry Roque said, that the 40,000 euros is so small for an international lawyer, the rates for an international lawyer. So that is what the former president has to decide on. As to the finances, I'm not quite sure. Pero yun, digong nga yun.
What you're saying is that the preference is to get Kaufman as the lead counsel, but it is still negotiable or still up in the air whether they can afford him or not.
Pero Gretchen, pwede
That's
naman
true.
manggaling outside yung pera, pambayad, di ba? Hindi lang naman limited doon sa 40,000 euro ng ICC.
Yes.
Halimbawa, kung gustong tumulong ni Michael Yang, pwede siya magbigay ng pondo.
Okay.
Pwede.
Let's not go
Oo,
there.
pwede,
But
pwede.
okay.
So assistance lang ito, kumbaga parang ano lang, may subsidy lang for a portion
Yes.
of
And-
the
oo.
legal defense assistance from the ICC. But certainly the former president has to decide if he will spend his money on getting a private counsel such as Nicholas Kaufman.
Pero kung counsel si Vice President, does that mean hindi siya babalik dito until yung nagpo-proceed yung trial?
Paulit-ulit din sinabi ni Attorney Harry Roque kanina sa press con that the only reason they're putting her on the council is so that she can get unimpeded access to the former president. Because if you're a family member, you have to email every day, and if you're a family member, your visits will also be recorded. So dito, kapag siya ay naging legal counsel, ay hindi siya pwedeng harangan. Dahil karapatan ni former President Duterte to have representation, to be able to talk to her defense. And also, yun nga yung recording na concern nila. At least dito, kapag siya ay na-accredit, hindi na pwedeng mag-record ng mga meetings nila.
Pero ganun pa rin, gano'ng katagal siya dyan?
Wala pang definite na sagot, pero ang sinasabi niya ay kapag may pumalit sa kanya na next of kin, dahil siya lang yung may Schengen visa. So, yun ang pinaka-sinagot niya doon. Pero sinasabi din niya na pinapauwi na siya ng dating presidente dahil wag daw niya iwanan ng Pilipinas.
And then we also don't know at this point if si Senator Robin Padilla will be able to see him. Kasi of course, he's not family.
Or a lawyer.
Hindi rin siya legal counsel.
Correct. Hindi rin siya accredited lawyer, much less an ICC
Pero mas
lawyer.
learned kaysa kay Edwin Gao.
Okay. We have to let you go, Gretch.
Pwedeng one last.
Sige, go ahead.
Yung kay Harry Roque, Gretch, tama naman yung napag-usapan kanina na kung ang basihan lamang ay yung contempt, medyo mababaw yun or hindi compelling. Pero may kaso siya kasi na sinampa ang gobyerno sa DOJ, yung human trafficking at saka money laundering. Kung yun ay mag-prosper, very, very strong kasi ang Netherlands sa human trafficking at saka money laundering. Pwedeng...
You mean very sensitive
pwede
sila pag
Pwede
may
siyang
kaso?
i-extradite, no? Pwede silang i-extradite. Kung sakaling mag-prosper yun, dahil nakasampa na yun sa DOJ.
Sinabi rin niya, Ronald, na meron din siyang inihain sa Korte Suprema, no? Laban dito nga kasi sa arrest warrant dun sa House of Representatives, pero hindi pa raw lumalabas yung desisyon. So inaantay din niya yun. As to yung nabanggit mo ng mga kaso, hindi namin natanong yan, pero siguro we'll check on the updates of that. But after our meeting, dumiretso na siya. Sabi niya, today din siya mag-seek ng asylum sa Netherlands.
He's applying right after, no? Sabi nga niya. And then again tonight, we'll find out by 9 p.m. Hague time what Duterte will decide as far as his legal counsel composition is concerned. We'll let you go, Gretch. Thank you so much for your reporting and your insights. Gretchen Ho reporting to us live from the Netherlands.
Thanks, Gretch.
Salamat, Gretch. Maganda yung quote mo.
You're watching Storycon on One News. We just need to take a very quick break. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hindi yun ukay.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.
We've got developing news in the stories behind headlines. Welcome back to Storycon, the Story Conference. I'm Ed Lingao.
I'm Regina Lay, and still with us, Ami Komintuan of the Philippine Star, and Ronald Llamas, our political pundit, now in person. Humabol.
Kala ko nasa Netherlands ka na eh.
Ha?
Papunta na siya.
Hindi, bala ko.
Madala kang tsinelas sa ano,
Hindi, bala ko magpa-file
medyas.
din ako ng political asylum. Dahil may
On what grounds?
Saan ka mag-asylum?
tinutugis ako dito sa Storycon eh.
Yun lang, political
Mga mental
persecution
asylum
na.
May human rights violation pa dito.
yung katabi ko, pinipersecute ako.
Yun lang, persecution na. Grabe naman.
Huwag nyo na, crimes against humanity yun.
Kahit isa ka lang.
Oo.
Representative sampling kasi siya. Ikaw talaga.
Okay. I got
It's a
it.
systematic and
Widespread attack.
attack.
Oo, yung guest natin,
Naghihintay na.
tatanong ko sa
Tatawa
kanya
sa
kung pwede ako mag-file ng asylum.
Okay, let's
Baka
bring in...
mental asylum pwede.
Ay, yan na.
Mental asylum, ha?
Let's bring in our second
Malapit
guest.
lang yun dyan, Mandaluyong. Malapit lang dyan, lapit-lapit.
Papayag ako, basta magkasama kami ni Harry Roque.
Relax. Also joining us this afternoon, Mike Tew of the Institute of International Legal Studies of the UP's College of Law. Welcome to Storycon. Attorney Tew, thanks for joining us.
Hi, sir.
Thanks
Hi,
for having me.
attorney.
Salamat, attorney.
Good afternoon.
Attorney, lots to dissect here. Let's begin with the pre-trial initial proceedings nung Friday. What did you make of it? In particular, the part where former ES Medjaldea gave a 4-minute manifestation saying that this was all an extrajudicial rendition, aka kidnapping of Duterte.
Right, so the initial appearance went exactly as it should have gone, quick, to the point, and just consistent with the purpose of familiarizing with the accused, reading the charges and reading the accused their rights, right? So I would say that the initial statement is a little bit unusual, out of order, which is something that we're used to here, but they really are careful about those statements, although of course it was still the case that they gave him the time to air those out, but it was an inappropriate statement for that kind of proceeding, I would say.
Attorney, why is that? Bakit siya unusual and why is it inappropriate?
Because that was not the time to raise those arguments. That time is the confirmation of charges. The initial appearance, as the name suggests, is really initial. It really is just to recognize that the accused is there, confirming the identity of that accused. So it was not some kind of an oral argument where you could raise those things. Although we can still say that there was still the chance given to the defense to raise those statements. So it was all good in the end.
Pero from your...
May pahapyaw din sa ICC. I remember this particular part where Medjaldea said, you're looking at two troubled entities, and I'm paraphrasing here, that struck a deal, the incumbent president and a troubled legal institution in need of a legal show. Of course, he didn't name what
Price
it
cuts.
Yun nga yung itatanong ko, attorney From your vantage point, tama ba yung ginawa niya na binanatan niya yung korte na hahatol sa kanyang kliyente? Baka hindi kabisado ni ES Medjaldea kung nasaan korte siya.
That's correct. I didn't think it was very smart to say that because the court is very protective of its integrity and also its legitimacy. But also, and I was thinking as I was listening to that maybe the court wasn't the audience for that statement, so they just took the opportunity to speak to somebody else through that medium.
That's a good way of looking at it.
Hindi naman-
Price cuts daw nila si Duterte because may problema talaga ngayon ng ICC, no? Pero kung opening statement yun, di ba, attorney, standard ba yun sa Pilipinas? Kasi usually may ganyan din sa atin, di ba? Meron kang opening statement tapos saka na lang maghihintay or does that happen during the trial?
Sa atin wala talagang opening statement din kasi wala naman tayong jury. Usually nagpa-function yan kung may audience ka like a jury. But lawyers do that as like in the form of manifestations if they want to emphasize a point. And that can happen anytime. That can happen in pre-trial or during any of the dates for trial. Usually the judge just notes all of those statements, but because you're not speaking to a gallery there. So even in our courts, while lawyers do that routinely, they hardly matter much unless you are before, let's say, a court where you're making an oral argument, let's say, before the Supreme Court.
Kung ikaw mag-opening statement, Ed, anong sasabihin mo?
Kailangan ko ng tsinelas tsaka ng medyas.
Hindi na pag-usapan kanina yung pangangailangan sa kulambo. Hindi
Attorney,
nabanggit eh.
I have another question there.
May baka binagdala na.
Kasi over the weekend, ang sabi nito ni Harry Roque is that, at least over the weekend pa to, they plan to file a manifestation questioning the jurisdiction of the pretrial chamber and the ICC, of course, in general, before September 23. I'm wondering how that would work, considering that, am I getting this right? The ICC already has acquired jurisdiction, the pretrial chamber already has acquired jurisdiction, and therefore, would it or could it just let go of that jurisdiction at this point?
Yes, they could look at the question of jurisdiction again kasi yung una pong nag-raise ng jurisdiction is the state, no? Yung Pilipinas yung nakipagtalo about jurisdiction. Pero the Rome Statute does also give the arrested person, or in this case, after the confirmation of charges, the accused, an opportunity to challenge the jurisdiction again kasi may ibang aspeto yung jurisdiction, yun yung jurisdiction over their person. So dito kasi may particular na tao na na-identify. So they can raise the question again.
Attorney, ano yung chances na makakuha siya ng interim release batay sa inyong pagkakaunawa dun sa rules ng ICC?
Sa aking pagkakaunawa, kasi fact-intensive yung analysis ng interim release, no? So, siguro yung premise ay i-check niya kung meron pa ba yung conditions kung bakit siya nag-issue ng warrant of arrest in the first place. And merong mga circumstances kung bakit necessary yung warrant of arrest. Isa na doon yung para hindi makapag-interfere yung taong aarestuhin doon sa investigation or doon sa kalagayan ng mga witnesses. Another is para hindi mabigyan ng pagkakataon yung arrested person na mag-commit pa ng further crimes. So kailangan siyang i-hold in detention. So if the court is satisfied na wala yung mga risks na yon, and maybe also flight risks, no? If wala yung mga risks na yon, then it can consider granting interim release, but also with conditions, with or without conditions. So sa akin talagang importante kung ano ba yung mga circumstances that the court can consider in this release. And we can see in this environment that the court might also consider ano ba yung potential for, let's say, violence, potential for this person to come back and face the court if ma-release, no? And it's really not helping that the rhetoric around his detention is this way, because that's added consideration for the court to say that it might not be very wise to grant that interim release.
Yung request niya para ni Vice President na maging legal counsel, ganun ba ka-tactical yon? Di ba dapat mas stricter yung rules sa legal counsel? Pero kung openly, ang gusto lang namang nila ay makapasok, makadalaw, no? From your vantage point, ay kung ba yun? Compelling or posible? Based on the rules mismo at saka criteria ng ICC for what a legal counsel should be?
Yes, so yung rules of procedure ng ICC, ng Rome Statute ay medyo mataas-taas yung bar for who can be counsel or even assistant to counsel. And they need to be able to demonstrate na meron silang kaalaman doon sa international law or criminal law in general kasi it's really a criminal trial as well. So kailangan i-establish yan, no? Merong isang mechanism which is ito yung magpa-file ka ng power of attorney at the earliest opportunity if you were the choice counsel of the accused. Pero I don't think that it's going to be a very smart defense to put in lawyers who don't know the practice of the court. So this was a smart move for them to hire a lawyer who's really been practicing before the court and is familiar with the procedures. Kasi nakita natin nung initial appearance, the court or the chambers really have very little space or leeway given to things that are out of order or that are not within the procedure. So perhaps I think, and if they really just want to get inside, there are mechanisms for that. In fact, the previous time they were able to see from the gallery. If they're not going to advise anyway, especially if the advice is not going to be helpful, then I don't think that they should be sitting in those chairs. That could end up just prejudicing his case if they get it wrong.
Sir, I was speaking
Ano
kanina
yung
to...
reklamo ng ano, no? Yung reklamo ni E.S. Medialdea, extrajudicial rendition eh. It's similar to extraordinary rendition, no? Sa tingin mo, based on experience around the world, may basihan ba yung sinabi niya?
Hindi, kasi yung mga kaso ng extra rendition na nakita natin, hindi na natin narinig muli kung nasa na yung tao na yon. Di ba yun yung nangyari
Yes.
after 9/11, madaming kaso na
Yes.
na dinadala sa ibang bansa. Para ito, we know exactly where he is. We know exactly that his rights are protected. So it's not the case of extra rendition. Ito yung kasi yung tinitake out mo from the protection of the law yung tao eh. It's extraordinary rendition. But here, there's an entire body of law that protects this particular person. And in fact, the court guarantees those rights. So it's not
Pero
extraordinary.
yung pagkagamit niya, ano, di ba, in the sense na pinadala ng Pilipinas dahil hindi natin gustong, kasi sa US ayaw nilang pinapadala nila sa ibang bansa para ma-torture daw, yun ang sabi ng mga kritika, para ma-torture sa ibang bansa, yung gusto nilang questionin. Ito naman, dahil wala daw tayong capability, tinapo natin sa dahig para sila yung mag-try. Meron bang basis yung ganong argumento?
Hindi rendition yun.
That's right. Merong basis yon kasi even though ilabas mo dun sa argumento na may jurisdiction ba yung ICC, no? Yung Pilipinas, meron siyang soberanya at discretion to act, to cooperate even though it's not formally part of a regime, no? Ibang tanong na yun kung under our domestic law ay papasa ba yun. Pero in terms of whether the Philippines can choose to comply or cooperate with an international institution, it can very well do that without joining a treaty. In fact, in the entire corpus of foreign policy in the Philippines rests on the president or in the president's hands. So kaya namang gawin yun ng bansa, no? Or ng estado bilang voluntary action.
Sir, I was speaking kanina to Attorney Estelito Torion, one of the counsels of the former president, and of course Bato de la Rosa. He filed on Friday a supplemental petition for motion for reconsideration dun sa kanyang TRO, which was earlier denied by the Supreme Court to put a stop to the expulsion of the former president. He's still arguing na Article 59 of the Rome Statute still covers country or states that are not party anymore to the Rome Statute, including the Philippines. And that kailangan pa rin daw dumaan sa judicial process ang any expulsion or extradition or even surrender of any Filipino to another state or another tribunal abroad. I asked that kasi I also read a posting by Professor Alexis Medina, also to that same effect, na whether you call it extradition or surrender under 9851, you still have to go through a certain judicial process, and the executive cannot just unilaterally give you away to another country, another power, or another foreign tribunal without going to the court.
A local judicial authority, let's be clear. Dapat daw dumaan sa korte here.
Pero di ba, attorney, wala pa kailang ang ICC ron. Ang mahalaga sa ICC ay nandun na siya. Kung paano siya napunta ron, wala na silang pakialam. Basta itatrial siya. Parang yung issue na yon ay issue dito sa ating bansa.
That's correct. In fact, dun sa forum na dinaluhan natin with Judge Raul Pangalangan last Friday, nabanggit niya na hindi tinitingnan ng court yung process of how you get to the court. But I would say also, even under the terms of Article 59, no, yung how the court has treated that provision in the past. So there's one case, the Ongwen case, where the court said that that provision in and of itself does not necessarily mandate a particular procedure. So even if we do concede na nag-a-apply yung Article 59, that provision gives the state leeway as to how it will structure its procedure in that surrender. So in fact, in that Ongwen case, satisfied na si pre-trial chamber na binasahan ng contents ng warrant, chinek kung siya ba yung identity, and then sinurrender si person. And in that case, ang nag-appear si Ongwen just before the Prosecutor General of a certain court. So hindi man lang huwes, and that was sufficient. So if we're going to engage with that argument, even under those terms of Article 59, it is likely that that the procedure that had happened here will still be sufficient so that his arrest would have been valid and transfer is valid.
Okay. We'll leave that there. Thank you so much for your insights today. Attorney Mike Tew of the Institute of International Legal Studies of UP College of Law.
Salamat,
Thanks, sir.
attorney.
Thank you, Attorney.
Okay, that's all the time we have today. Thanks for joining Storycon. Ami Paminton, Editor-in-Chief of the Philippine Star. Ronald Llamas, a resident political pundit. Join us again tomorrow 4 p.m. for Storycon. I'm Regina Lay.
I'm Ed Lingao. We are One News, all sides, all the time.
This is the Story Conference Group or the Storycon Group.